All right, welcome to the Lovecraft eZine podcast. Thanks for that, Pete. Appreciate it.
You're always willing to do my part.
Today is May the 13th, 2018, and we're here for another Lovecraft eZine podcast, as you've no doubt suspected if you're watching or listening. So, we don't have a guest today, and I'm actually going to try and do a few more shows with guests, like maybe, I don't know, a third, something like that, because the guests are great, but I hear from listeners, I hear from the audience saying that the guests are great, they love them, and they also love the shows that we do like this today, where we just talk about anything and everything. And that's what we're going to do today. Let's do intros. I'm Mike Davis with Lovecraft eZine. Rick.
I'm Rick Lay, writer.
Philip.
Philip Fracassi, author and screenwriter.
Pete.
Pete Rollick. I drive a Hyundai.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Hyundai Anonymous. There's a group for that, I think. Kelly.
Kelly Young, Strange Eons Magazine.
All right, Kelly, I have some bad news for you. I just read on the internet, it must be true, I read on the internet that your favorite show, Lucifer, has been canceled.
Jesus Christ, I do not have enough booze to celebrate this.
Yeah, I remember you posting about it when it first came out, and you're like, I watched the first episode, and boy, what a fucking stupid show, or something like that.
And my mom loved it, and a lot of people I know did love it, and it was based on a comic that I guess was pretty well received. And I would have had no problem if this was just a lesser demon or something coming to Earth and accidentally causing good, but I want my devil to be evil.
Yeah, like on Supernatural.
By the way,
I also get upset at that.
Just as a trivial point, Lucifer is an accidental name for the devil.
I didn't know that.
It was based on a mistranslation. There was a reference to the planet Venus morning star coming, which is Lucifer in Latin, coming down, and it was not intended to be a reference. They were comparing some evil king to the falling star, and it was misinterpreted as a reference to the devil.
That's actually really interesting, and probably why they canceled the show. They got the protagonist's name wrong.
That must have been it. Somebody finally read the Bible.
I mean,
yeah, the show is very popular with women, I think. So,
well,
why are you guys all muted? Am I the only one that's going to talk today?
I'm just.
I'll talk.
I never saw Lucifer.
When we're not talking mute, but okay.
But when you have to do a literal, if anybody believes in a literal translation of the Bible, you got to realize that a lot of things have been mistranslated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like we had horns on Moses for a long while.
Translations of translations.
Right. That's true.
Here's another piece of bad news for you, Kelly, and this time I'm wondering if this is actually bad news for you or not. The Fox is canceling Exorcist.
Yeah, I was bummed to hear that. The second season was not as strong as the first season, in my opinion, but it was still a lot of fun.
I was really surprised they even went to a second season. But
you're surprised they went into a second season?
Yeah, I don't know. I watched the first season and I actually thought it was pretty good. I thought they were going to cap it at one. I was surprised when at the end of the first season they created a bridge to a continuing storyline, because I kind of thought, what else are you going to do? And then I never saw any of the second season, but I wasn't into the idea of a worldwide global phenomenon or whatever it was they were hinting at happening.
Yeah, I gave it a solid chance, and I didn't like it as much, but I would have been happy if they had gone more into this whole demon conspiracy thing. I thought that was more interesting than the main storyline.
Is that I saw like 6 episodes, but is that with the people who were kind of underground fighting the not underground in a literal sense, but
You're thinking
There
of
was like-
Chud.
yeah, there was this group, if I remember right, that were
People under the stairs.
yeah, thanks.
What are you talking about?
Keep talking, Philip.
Are
Michael,
we in the same conversation?
Jesus.
I don't know. Mike's underground people. I just
Mike, you're right. There was a kind of a underground freedom force of
See, you're
Ex
right. Nobody
priests.
listened to this asshole. God
Right.
damn it.
right. Jesus.
been telling people that for years.
There is one series that did get canceled that Kelly and I will miss, and it's Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of upset about that too.
Yeah, they're blaming it on illegal downloads, which is
Well,
a very poor
it
excuse.
tells me that you have bad IT. Just
It didn't have a totally wrap up ending, but it wasn't like a true cliffhanger. It was more like a stage for more adventures that it ended on.
Yeah.
But I could live with that. I mean, at least they resolved the main thing.
I could too, and I could see it going off in another medium. You know, they continued the Buffy and Angel series at Dark Horse for a couple of seasons. They called it, where they
yeah,
did them as comic books.
a friend of mine just told me that Dark Horse has taken those volumes out of the omnibus editions out of print.
For what reason? Somebody else must have grabbed the license.
Maybe.
Well, aren't they rebooting the Buffys?
Oh no, are they?
I don't.
Please don't do that.
I've not heard that.
I'd heard that. I heard they were doing a reboot.
Please don't. Oh.
I heard that like a couple of years ago, and then I heard that it was just a rumor. So
I heard
Yeah,
on the
the funny
internet.
thing is
Must be
that
true.
I think I heard it like in the last couple of weeks too, Phil.
Yeah, there's a couple articles on it. Deadline had an article on it,
really,
and Huffington Post had an article on it. Yeah, apparently Joss Whedon they have one ready to go. They're waiting for Joss to give them the green light. Of course, this is Deadline talking.
so how do we feel about that if we're Buffy and Angel fans?
Well, I told you guys I've never seen the original series.
What?
So,
That's
So-
like 7 years of great stuff.
I don't want a reboot. You know what's a smart way to possibly do a reboot? Because I've always wondered whether they once tried to reboot Dark Shadows, which actually was sort of working to some degree, but that didn't pan out, got canceled. If you had a show which had a concept of parallel time, do it that way. You could be a reboot in another dimension,
Mhm.
and you get glimpses of the original show.
Yeah, like Star Trek,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the movies.
right?
I'd
I
be
don't
fine
know.
if they wanted to just continue the storyline. You know, the way they ended it from the series was all the Slayers had been activated, and
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with watching.
I mean, I'd like to see the bridge between Buffy and Serenity.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a hell of a
good.
long bridge.
It could be Buffy, the next generation of Slayers or something.
I like it.
Where,
Yeah. So, because what's her name on Serenity? The theory is that she's a Slayer, right?
well, that's my headcanon. But
Yeah.
How many episodes are there in Trinity? Because I should probably watch that.
Serenity, I don't know. There's like one
Serenity.
season.
It's
And
one
then-
se-
Half
think
a
it's
season. I think
half a-
there's less than 10, I believe.
Okay, and then there's the movie.
Well, the movie's called Serenity. What was the series called?
Firefly.
Firefly. Yeah.
That's right. It's Firefly.
I've tried to watch it a couple times. It's just my cup of tea, I guess.
It's just, space cowboys.
Boy, I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Shocker.
Does it have the actress from Gotham in it? And
Yes.
Yes.
the one who's in Gotham in Deadpool.
Yeah. Morena Baccarin or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yes.
That's reason enough to watch it.
Yes.
She's a very good actress.
There's that
It's
too.
not-
That's it.
not attractive. I just want to
Really-
say that she is
really
a very
something else.
good. She's a very good love interest for a hero.
Oh, is she attractive? I hadn't even noticed that. That's
She also was the voice of the computer on the first season of Flash.
oh,
Whatever that was.
She was just in a Legends of Tomorrow episode.
Yes.
Gideon. She was the voice of
Yeah,
Gideon.
the Gideon
Yep.
played herself, as a hologram or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that was interesting to see the face behind Gideon. That was nice. So, all right. So I did post about this the other day on the Lovecraft eZine page. The big one with all the followers, not the group. Pete Von Schali's Lovecraft Illustrated, and you guys wanted to talk about that for a second.
I really want to kind of push this just because I've got my money in it. It's a Kickstarter for Pete Von Schali's art book, and it's going to be a gigantic coffee table book of illustrations. And if you're not familiar with his stuff, it's got kind of a dark, cartoony feel to it. He's put out a lot of Lovecraftian stuff, and he did for now I can't remember the publisher, but he's done a bunch of. Was it PS that did all the illustrated Lovecraft stories that he's done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. And so purely, in a selfish way, I want people to kind of know about this so that they can get the Kickstarter over its goal so that I can get my book.
It's also it's buying that book is probably definitely cheaper than buying all the PS Illustrated editions.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
So you can get all the art in one place.
It says full color, 325 plus images.
Right, it's going to be a
from all of HPL's fiction, with notes, sketches, and unpublished art. New intro by we don't need to mention that.
I wonder if they're doing. When they did the revisions, they said they weren't going to do all of them. They only, when they came up with that recent Curse of Yig volume. I wonder if he's going to do illustrations for things like The Last Test by Adolf de Castro and
or The Night Ocean.
The Night Ocean.
I'd love that.
We know.
Yes, I might have mentioned it before. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm looking at it as of right now. On Sunday the 13th, they've got 90 backers, 17 days to go. They're 10,300 basically pledged of a $14,000 goal. So these guys are going to make it, but hopefully this will help push them a little bit more in the right direction. And, most importantly, that Kelly will get his book.
Right. It's all about me, you guys.
There is only one reason to give, actually. I'm sorry, I listed the other reason.
I posted on the eZine message board a link to the Kickstarter.
Rick wants his book too.
All right. Well, I've got a link in the YouTube.
Well, it's got to exist already. There's pictures of it, right? I mean,
well, true. And I'll list it on, the audio podcast and stuff too, or post it. I mean,
one thing about the PS collection of illustrated Lovecraft. I just want to mention this in case it's unfortunate. There is a flaw in one of the books. The copy I have of Horner of the Dark, they reprint Robert Bloch's The Shambler from the Stars. They're missing 3 pages worth of text.
Oh no!
And it sort of jumps from the author to, and it's weird where the split is. It's not in an obvious place. It's like 2 sentences are combined. It jumps from when the author, who's a horror writer, was discussing all the difficulty he had writing the horror, into like a third into the history of Ludwig Prin's Mystery of the Worms. And I was rereading them. Going, whoa, what just happened here? Let me get my Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos out. Oh, the missing 3 pages.
Huh.
That's awful.
There are some texts. Just in another note, since we're on this.
Sure.
If you ever read The Space Eaters by Frank Belknap Long online at the wiki text,
Okay.
or in the reprints by Wildside Press, they're missing about a paragraph at least, where the monster appears as a yellow bat that's missing from the text of the Space Units by Frank Belknap Long. All you say is there's this colossal thing over the river, and they don't describe it as a bat-like in yellow. And I was doing that because it tied into a novel that Frank Belknap Long wrote called Journey into the Unknown, where he expanded on the bat image.
Okay. Is anybody watching Westworld season 2?
Oh yes.
Are you? What do you?
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of episode 2 right now. What do you think so far, guys?
This is a show like Philip was talking about Exorcist that I would have been just fine with them ending at the end of that first season because I thought it was really a solid story. That being said, this new season is keeping my attention. There's stuff going on that is keeping me interested in watching it. It's not where I thought it was going to go, but I'm liking it.
yeah. I was never. I mean, I wouldn't. I didn't love the first season. I watched it out of curiosity and because I thought Anthony Hopkins was great, and I loved watching him act, and I loved the lead, whose name I can't. Evan Rachel Wood. What's her name?
Yeah, that's right.
She's great. She's an amazing actress. So I watched it primarily for that, and I wasn't really that interested in what was going on. But the second season,
and the nudity probably kept you going too.
right, which is why I stopped on Game of Thrones after season 1 because they kind of cut back on the nudity.
Was there no nudity after season 1? I've only seen season 1.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, of Game of Thrones. It just, I don't know.
Wow.
There's so much that people can watch.
There's a lot, and but we are watching Westworld season 2, and I'm enjoying it. It's interesting. They're keeping, to Kelly's point, they're keeping my interest. So
yeah, but what does Stephanie think? You're married now. Your opinion is no longer valid.
She's a much bigger fan of it than I am.
Oh, okay. All right.
If it was up to me, I'd be watching Bosch and Longmire every night. So I get sucked into watching these other more high concept shows, like that one.
Yeah. All right.
I'm an old school guy. I like detective shows.
So on Amazon, I temporarily got the HBO channel. Okay. Was it $14 a month or something for Westworld?
Mm-hmm.
And here's my question about Fahrenheit 451. Is it coming to theaters or is it coming to HBO this month?
Just HBO. It's an HBO original.
That's what I thought, because that's the other reason why I got HBO. I love that book. That is one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
Yes, Pete, I've probably mentioned it before, and the trailers look fantastic.
Yeah, they got some great actors, that's for sure. Michael.
Yeah, I love Michael Shannon.
And Michael Shannon. Yeah, they got 2 great leads. We'll see. I don't know. It looks a little ridiculous to me, but maybe.
What part looks ridiculous to you?
I don't know. Just like the book burning thing taken to the extreme. I don't know how much. I just don't know what they're going to do with it. It just seems like the book burning thing can only take you so far, as far as a plot is concerned. But then I just don't want it to be like the whole thing where okay, there's the 2 guys who are against all this stuff, and then the one guy opens his eyes and realizes it's not that bad, and so he becomes an outsider, and then the bad guys have to kill him too, but now he's fighting for the good side. It's just like it's been done so many times. I just would hate to see it.
Well, yeah, it was originally done in '53 by Bradbury.
Right. Yeah.
Did any of you see the original movie version directed by Francois
I
Truffaut?
tried to watch it one time, but no.
I was just saying, was the book burning? When I saw that, it was very arty of how they did the fire, so you can direct burning very well.
Yeah, this doesn't look very arty. It looks like Michael Shannon, being Michael Shannon, and.
But here's what I want to know. There's a girl named Clarice who plays a very important role in the book, and I'm hoping they're not leaving her out of this because she's a hell of a great character. She has some really insightful and important things to say in the book.
Hmm.
You know, so I don't know how long it's been since you guys read Fahrenheit 451, but
Did you look at the cast listing to see if the character's in there?
I did not yet. No. Good idea, though.
I will say this: if you're getting HBO, you should check out Barry. It's the new HBO show. It's really, really good.
I've been enjoying that as well.
It's the same guy, Alec Berg. He who did Silicon Valley. Him and Mike Judge did Silicon Valley, which is less funny with every passing season. But Barry is excellent. Definitely
I scrolled past it, but what's it about?
It's about a hitman who wants to become an actor. And so he's going through all these like growing pains as an actor, like the weird act. I mean, it's a dark comedy. It's funny, but it also has very, very dark moments.
Very,
very
dark
dark moments. So it's definitely like a dark comedy. If you like dark comedy, and it's really well acted, Henry Winkler's in it, and the lead is the kid from Saturday Night Live, whose name I can't remember, but the tall dude who always
All right.
Vincent Price. But he's really very, very interesting show.
Kelly, what's this? You can get it from Hulu for $5 a month. I got it through Amazon for 14 or 15.
Brandy just sent me a text that said, "Tell Mike you can get HBO through Hulu for $5 a month." So we know at least one person is watching.
Oh, there's people watching.
Hi, Brandy.
You know, I'm actually surprised that I have to pay anything at all for HBO.
How do you
Kelly.
get HBO?
As you know, they're very big fans of mine over there. And you know, when I signed up on Amazon, I'm amazed I didn't get an email immediately refunding the $14.99.
Right. They should have been like, "Oh, Mike Davis?
Yeah,
Wait a
that
second.
guy.
We should be paying you."
Well, you need to add the prefix "the," Mike, when you fill these kind of forms out, so they know it's the Mike Davis.
This is an inside joke, and you know, for those of you who know why I'm saying this, it's probably funny. I think it's funny.
Not funny.
Mike,
Yes.
let's tell you, Clarice is a character in the remake.
Oh, awesome! Thank you for looking that up for me. That's
I think
great.
she's played by the actress who was in the last Star Trek movie as the albino woman.
Oh, really?
Sophia Boutella, was that her name?
I don't remember that, but she did a great job in that movie.
That's the actress's name, and I believe, yep, that's her.
Okay. How old is she though? Clarice was like 17.
Well, this actress was born in 1982.
That makes her 700 years old, if I've done my math correctly.
725 years old.
I think you have, yeah, exactly.
Too old for the part, regardless.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the
She looks
17,
she looks a lot younger than.
I don't recall a lot of the book. I did read it a very long time ago. But is Clarice the one who like harbors him? Is that?
she's the one who she's a neighbor, and she sort of makes him think about things is the simplest and quickest way to do it.
Right.
Say it. I mean,
Right.
yeah. So, all right, yeah. So there's a couple reasons to get HBO. Thanks, Brandy. If I decide to keep HBO, I'll get it on Hulu instead.
Yeah, that's weird, that Hulu thing. I'll have to check that out myself because we pay
$5 a month. Why
we
not?
pay for HBO now. We get it through Apple TV, but we pay. I think we pay $15 a month.
Yeah, that's about what it is through Amazon.
Jesus. Cat.
I've got cat ass on my screen.
Listen, guys. This is a live show. Anything can happen.
Talk to the butt.
Anything
This
can
is
happen.
why I have 5 cats. This is why I keep a squirt bottle by me during the show.
Oh, I could never squirt my cat.
Crazy
No,
cat, man.
I wouldn't squirt them for doing something like that. I'd squirt them if they try to get on the desk or something.
Besides, if I squirted him, he would just come at me.
That's a big cat.
And he's not a nice cat.
He's really staring you down right now too.
He looks like one of those warrior cats from Lovecraft's Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath.
Yeah,
He's looking at you like, what the fuck are you going to do about it, pal?
this is I've decided that I'm hungry, and it's time for you to feed me.
You know what? If you're not
cat-
a live viewer, you're missing out.
You're just trying to fucking get
Or
me
a viewer later, yeah.
This cat eats moon beasts for breakfast. And
Yeah,
zooks.
Well, I watched those videos that they have on Amazon or on Facebook where it's like, and there are those animal videos, and they're like, two animals in love with each other, and they show like the cat petting the bird and stuff like that. My cat would have eaten that bird 10 times over.
My cats are
And
like,
likely whoever the guy is filming this, he'd go after him next.
I pity the dog who goes after that cat.
Yeah, no one.
I think that cat is bigger around than my arm.
Yeah. See if you could hear him purring.
what would be really cool to talk about Shiloh while your cat's on the screen, just to make it extra hard for you.
Yeah.
Here is Shiloh. There's the back. It's doing well.
By the author of Mother and Altar, which I just
Yeah.
read and are both excellent. I recommend to anyone who hasn't read them.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were saying they're cosmic. What were you saying about them, Rick? Before the show?
They're Lovecraftian, but not mythos.
Yeah.
All you would have to do is just throw in one line and make each of them a mythos story if you want to do.
Yes. Which has been done easily by many other authors.
And one story needs an E of Dagon, and one story needs an E of Shub-Niggurath, and then you're there. Without changing anything else.
I will say that there's an interesting tie between Altar and Shiloh, in that there is. I don't want to give anything away, but there's a character.
People die.
There's a character that appears in both.
People die in this war, man.
All right.
Same character appears in a story I wrote called Fragile Dreams.
Okay. Ooh. Whoa. More to read.
Is that all we want to say, Philip, for now?
Yeah.
Yeah, be vague.
Right.
I think I know who it is.
I'm not talking about the story. I'm talking about future plans.
Okay.
Oh, my future plans?
Yeah, is that all we want to say for now?
We don't want to talk about that. Yeah,
Tell us what's going on in the Fracassi verse.
You have no future.
Yeah. No, I can't talk about it yet, but unlike most vague messages people like to say about their careers, this one's actually not good news. It's bad news, but I guess there's some good news as well. So it's kind of I don't know what the hell's happening.
It's going to turn out to be a good thing. So
everyone loves a good legal battle. That's all I know.
Yeah, that's what counts.
That's what counts. That's why I got into this business, so I could talk to lawyers. That's why when I jumped to becoming a writer one day, that was my aspiration, was to spend time with lawyers talking about copyright infringements and foreign right issues.
You know what I do love is seeing on Facebook these people who are working on a project they can't say anything about right now. And I'm like, well, you have an NDA with yourself?
Yes.
Everybody just relax.
I think it's appropriate to talk about a project when you can talk about the project. But I understand people get excited. I think it's sweet, but I also think it's a little weird.
Yeah, I've got a problem.
I just lost. Oh, I can see my friend count going down as we speak. Just dropped. I just
blame
lost
it on me. I just
lost 7 followers.
We do usually.
Yeah.
If not always, Kelly. Yeah, speaking of Kelly.
Were we?
Speaking of you two assholes, Philip and Kelly, I got an email from a listener. Hey, Mike, I always listen via YouTube the next day or so, Monday usually. The banter between you and Kelly and Phil regarding cosmos in your attempt to talk about the vastness of space was hilariously capped. I was laughing out loud. You and the panel are great. So...
Signed, Philip Fracassi.
Wait, Phil wasn't in that.
Jay. Yeah, he was on that show.
I was the one who didn't
What's
want
one of the
Mike to talk about
detractors?
science.
He's a flat earther,
Okay.
I love science. I think it's great.
and it loves you.
Yeah,
It-
nuts.
I'm a
so
big fan.
Since we're kind of shouting out this topic, I gotta say hi to Rick Seam, who saw me at Crypticon last weekend while I was doing a panel on Lovecraft adaptations, and said some really nice things about the podcast, and suggested that there should be a Patreon level where Mike stops teasing me.
$500 a month. $500 a month will get you that.
I told
Oh,
him we had a complicated relationship.
Love hate.
but
I like hate.
speaking of patrons and Shiloh, somewhat, didn't you say that you were giving Shiloh to people who were at a certain Patreon level? Ebooks?
The $10 level they get all Lovecraft using press ebooks, and I just gave them Shiloh. Yeah.
Yeah, we should promote that so that I think people would maybe do that if they
Yeah.
got the book.
Free ebooks, and then the $25 level, you get one print book a month.
That's pretty good deal.
Yeah, I'm starting out with the Lovecraft using press books, and I email people to make sure they don't have whatever it is already. But then we'll go on to other books. So
Whatever you got on the shelf back there.
Hmm?
Whatever you got on the shelf behind you, just start grabbing them off the shelf.
Yeah, I'll just start throwing them used books that are really mangled, and
Right. Is that a birthday balloon behind you?
It is.
Oh,
so cute. Is it a car? Did they get you a balloon car? Or is it a balloon of Kelly Young's
This
face?
says happy birthday.
Oh, that's nice. Does it have the age on there?
Does it float, Mike?
Yeah.
We all float.
You'll float too. It does not have the age of 47 on there. No.
Wow.
So. All right. So, Gingerbread Man, going to be a movie? You said, Philip?
Well, that's what they're saying, or a TV show. I don't know.
Stephen
I mean,
King's
this is one of
Gingerbread Man.
those. This seems to me one of those reaches, and that balloon is so distracting. In that I read, it's just like this creepy, weird thing that keeps
I moved it.
behind your head.
All right, I moved it.
Like it's trying to see what we're all talking about. At least my cat jumped
Just
off
the man with the
desk.
wooden skull on the wall.
Yeah, he's calling my happy birthday balloon creepy.
What, he's
He's
just
got
this guy?
Yeah.
I got him from Guatemala. He's authentically possessed.
Really? I got the balloon from my wife and son.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Gingerbread. Oh, the reason I was saying gingerbread. What gingerbread woman is? What's the name of the story? Gingerbread.
Gingerbread Man.
Is it
You'll have to
no,
remind me.
I
I
think
don't
it's a
know this
gingerbread
one.
woman. Anyway, the story the story is in
As long
one
as
of
you're
the.
all sure.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I can't even look it up on my keyboard because my cat. I have to move all my stuff off my desk when my cat approaches. Otherwise, he'll just start knocking shit off. But the story is about a woman who is on an island.
Gingerbread girl.
Gingerbread girl, yeah. It's about a woman that's like at some remote house in this island, and there's a killer, and she stumbles into the guy killing somebody, and he attacks her in her house. And so the story takes place, and I'm not giving away, that's all in the first couple pages. And the story is basically her running away from this killer and fighting with the killer, and then running away and him chasing her. And that's the story. And that's like the whole, I don't remember how it ends. I'm sure she gets away. I don't remember. But it's going to, in other words, I don't see how they're going to, I mean, it's just going to be a big chase scene.
I never read the book because it didn't sound interesting at all.
Well, it's not. It's in I don't know what collection it's in. It's in one of his collections. It's a short story.
Oh, I thought it was a novella by itself or something.
No.
Who wrote this now?
Stephen King.
Stephen King. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to be well known pretty soon, I think.
I hear he's a young writer on the rise.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they could sometimes. Sometimes they take a short story and they build a whole narrative around it, and you just get that short story as like 10 minutes of a movie. Classic example was if you ever saw Ernest Hemingway's The Killers, which is in which is shown in The Shape of Water, by the way. You have that short story, which is only about 10 minutes worth of footage. Then you have a whole narrative built around that event, which starts off the movie.
That's not the Kubrick movie, though.
No, this is The Killers with Burt Lancaster, Edmund O'Brien, Ava Gardner, Albert Decker, William Conrad, Charles McGraw.
Yeah, the Hemingway story is very, very vague and very, very brief, if I remember correctly.
Right, and they start off the movie with that murder in that story, and then it's all trying to figure out what led to that event.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a faithful adaptation of the story, but it was a lot of extra new material that you hadn't seen in the original story, which may be considered inferior, possibly, but at least you got the Hemingway gold in the first 10 minutes.
Well, as far as Gingerbread Girl goes, it just seems like to me this has been done to death. You know, a girl fighting a serial killer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm reading the synopsis on Wikipedia, and there's a lot more to the plot than I recall. All I remember is her running away from this guy for the whole story, but it's in Just After Sunset. If the viewers / listeners would like to read it, it's in Just After Sunset, and it's a novella. It's not bad. I don't remember disliking it. I was just really surprised that it was a movie, and it felt like they were reaching, just grabbing whatever Stephen King's cocktail napkins, that's got a couple scribbles on it and optioning it.
Also, I'm more in the supernatural horror, not serial killers. And
right, this is not supernatural. It's there was a Stephen King story that I would love to see done, which was there's a story maybe as a short. I'd like to see Stephen King do like another Creep Show or Cat's Eye kind of deal with like maybe 3 or 4 of his stories. There's a story, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's in Nightmares and Dreamscapes, and it's where the guy buries he's on the run from a mobster of some sort.
Oh, this has been made into a movie already.
The one where he buries the limousine?
Buries the Cadillac. It's called Dolan's Cadillac.
Oh, it was made into a movie.
With Christian Slater. Not very good movie.
Yeah. And I can't see it extending to a full length, but I could have seen it as a nice 20-minute featurette.
Well, this is a good segue into one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys today, for the purposes of discussion. One of the questions is this: which existing story by anyone would you love to see get made into a movie?
Shiloh.
I guess when I'm going to lob up those softballs,
don't throw it at me if you don't want me to hit it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
yeah, Rick.
It's not
Worms of the Earth by Robert E. Howard.
I just spit out my Coke.
we're not
I did.
All right.
Yeah, and the fact that
I got you on the screen for the viewers.
The fact that you've written a couple of the Buddy movies, just ties really well into that picture.
Are you in bed?
Yes, I am in bed.
This show is a train wreck.
He's always in bed.
I am in bed. I am cold. I am wet, and I'm scared.
You live in
get
Florida.
My cat back.
And he's dying on us as we speak.
You live in Florida. How can you be cold?
Because Mandy is going through the change, and she's got the air set down to 68.
Wow. TMI.
I'm just kidding.
Can we get back to the discussion?
When somebody said Rick Lay was suddenly the voice of reason, I never expected that.
All right.
All I know is if Mike's birthday balloon starts floating behind Pete, I'm going to get really upset.
Yes, Rick, please.
We want the 2 guys eat the same pizza on this show.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Rick?
I said Worms of the Earth by Robert E. Howard.
Okay.
It's a good sword and sorcery story, which is self-contained in the series of Brand McMorn.
All right, who wants to go next? What would you like to see made?
I'll go next. I want to see, anything Robert McCammon, but really I think Stinger.
Damn it, you son of a bitch.
Jeez. I take it back. I don't want to see Stinger.
Well, Stinger would just be like a modern day them, or with the giant ants. Although there's a lot of sci-fi elements to it.
Well,
I guess.
that's not what that book was about. But thanks for shitting all over my point, Phil.
Wasn't it about it? I thought it was about a giant
No,
Now,
monster.
What was that about?
Stinger?
I don't.
that was the
It was a
one about
giant alien spider.
it's about the alien that's come down chasing the other alien, and it puts the tiny little southwestern town in under a dome, basically.
Right, which was basically Stephen King ripped that off for Under the Dome, I thought.
Yeah, and it wasn't as good.
And didn't The Simpsons have it before Stephen King wrote the book too?
Probably.
The Simpsons movie. I think,
Yeah, I
had the
heard about
same
that.
vibe.
Yeah, The Simpsons. Yeah, that's right.
Well, Hector Plasmic just wrote on the live feed, Jack of Shadows, Zelazny, which reminds me that one of my choices would be Nine Princes in Amber and go from there.
That's been optioned so many times. I gotta think that eventually, especially in this age of TV series now kind of taking over, that we'll get to see a nice Princess and Amber series.
Yeah, you're right. It would be better
Yeah.
like a Netflix series or something than a movie.
yeah.
I mean, each of the 5 books could be a season.
Yeah.
So
I
I'd
had
watch
the
it.
I had the big omnibus of that. It's a big paperback with all the novels. It's
Yeah, me too. It's
pretty
great.
cool. Yeah.
So
Rick did Rick have a secondary, or he's not going to say anything now?
Oh, you mean Pete?
Oh, sorry, Pete. Yeah.
Oh,
Pete,
Pete,
do you have any ideas at all?
No, I don't. I don't know how you would do it, but I would love to see someone do it maybe as a mini series. Perdido Street Station by China Mieville. You don't know
I
this?
don't know.
I haven't read it.
Oh, it's
Sci-fi,
kind of-
really, right?
yeah, sci-fi steampunk kind of thing, set on an alternate world that's got some sci-fi elements and some fantasy elements. It's really quite good. It's like 4 or 5 books in the series now.
All right.
And then I was a big fan of Stinger by McCammon. I would love to see something by Stephen Gould, who made they made his Jumper into a teen movie a couple years ago. He has another book called Wild Side, which is about a bunch of and they're not teenagers, they're young, they're like young adults who he inherits a barn, and he finds a dimensional porthole in the barn that goes to another Earth where humans don't exist.
I'm liking this. It's
And
Wild Things.
Wild Things.
Wild Things by Stephen Gould.
Wild Side by Stephen.
Wild
Wild,
Side.
I was gonna say Wild Things was a different movie.
Yeah, Wild Things is different. Wild Side. And
Wild Side by Stephen
That was
Gould.
a different kind of portal.
That's Gould, right?
correct. And not to be confused with Stephen Gould, the science writer.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pick that up because it sounds like it's right up my alley.
It looks like it's out of print.
Boy,
What's it called?
I have ways.
Wild Side.
Wild Side.
I'm also gonna say that I would love to see Susan Hill's The Man in the Picture made into a movie.
Yeah.
They made The Woman in Black into a pretty good movie, I thought, with the kid from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Follow
Although the follow-up was not that good.
No, it was not.
up.
There was a sequel.
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't. But if you took the follow-up just as its own movie, it's a pretty good B movie. But you're comparing it to the first one when you do The Woman in Black too.
Yes.
Yeah, the Man in the Picture is just a hell of a great eerie ghost story. So
Yeah.
and then of course I'll also say Matt Scudder mysteries. I'm on board. Film them all. So
I'd like to see. Has Coco ever been adapted?
Yes.
No.
Coco?
Straub's Coco?
Yeah.
Well, how did I miss this?
I thought for sure it was adapted. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of another bad
Ghost
Ape
Story
movie.
was, as far as I know, Ghost Story was the only adaptation that ever. But I
I
would
could
like
be wrong. I probably am wrong. I'm probably thinking of some other bad ape movie.
I think Phil is right. I think only Ghost Story.
I don't think it was ever made into a film, but that would be my pick, Coco,
Yeah.
Peter Straub.
Or
I'd also
Shadowland?
I'd also like to see Ghost Story remade, updated.
Aren't they
Yeah.
doing that right now? Somebody isn't. I thought that was being done, but
I would imagine he's getting some ancillary attention with all the King stuff that's being adapted like mad. I would imagine producers are saying, who else can we grab? You know, Straub's the obvious choice.
yeah.
I know the Talisman is being made into a TV series.
Maybe. They've been talking about that for years. It's had so many starts and stops, and the last time they were going to do it, they had cut the entire character of Wolf out and Sunlight Gardener's Home for Wayward Children and all that stuff, which is the centerpiece of the film as far as I'm concerned, or the book.
There are some properties that just remain lost in development forever.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is being adapted. It's being adapted into a film, and it's being directed by Josh Boone,
Boone?
who did X-Men New Mutants.
Right, which has had reshoots and all sorts of things going on. It's been pushed back, so I'm a little worried about it now. And Boone was attached to, prior to this, The Stand, Revival, and something else. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we won't see this as a Josh Boone film.
Well, The Talisman was my favorite book as a youngster, as a teenager. That was the book that I read and reread. And really got me. That and The Shining really were the books that got me into horror and into Stephen King. So,
Is that like The Shinning on The Simpsons? Is it anything to do with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some great some suggestions that I definitely agree with in the live comments. Okay, so Tonk82, I think that's Santiago, says Earthsea series needs to be properly made. Please, they did 2 adaptations and they were horrible. Let's see, but I'm just reading these. Kim Smeltzer Hexlinger series, never read that either. David Del Cole says Punktown. I strongly agree that would be a great
That would
series.
be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, really. Punktown by Jeffrey Thomas, that series of books or stories. Now, here's the one I really like. Hector Plasmic says, for a series, how about Callahan's Cross Time Saloon by Spider Robinson?
Yeah. That'd be fun.
It'd be fun. Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Another Punktown suggestion. Spindrift, what's that?
I don't know that one.
Is that by Delaney?
Do not know.
I'm not sure.
And Michael DeBronzo says Sunglasses After Dark. I don't know what that is either.
That's
I
Nancy
almost mentioned
Collins.
that. Yeah, Nancy Collins.
vampire novels, which she got paid for.
After White Wolf ripped her off?
No, after what was this? The 3 movies with the vampires versus werewolves.
Well, that's because it was called The Embraced, I think, and it was based on that Vampire the Masquerade game. Which,
No, it's a
the Kate Beckinsale movies. Underworld?
Yeah.
Oh, is those the ones? Oh,
I believe she sued over those and won.
good. Yeah,
So
because those were total ripoffs also.
They made like 12 of those movies.
Sonia Blue is the name of the vampire.
Yeah.
Right.
She's sort of a vampire turned vampire hunter is the best way I can describe her.
Yeah, very fun series.
Yeah.
And it has a different mythology of vampires than normal.
And Blade was a vampire who turned against vampires, right?
Sort of.
And Angel.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes, Angel, sure.
Um,
Oh, you know what would make a great series?
Yeah.
George R. R. Martin's Tough Voyaging. Be heavy CGI, but
I think George R. R. Martin should let somebody else have a TV show for a while.
I just
I think George R. R. Martin's got enough to do on. I think he's got a lot on his plate. The guy came and finished a book, and he's
Also,
yeah, that's
he's
true.
got a horror series coming up, doesn't he? Didn't I read that he's got something in development, another series?
I thought, aren't they remaking Night Flyers?
Oh, is that what it was for television?
Something, HBO maybe.
I would like to see more Robert McCammon adapted. I'm surprised there hasn't been more Robert McCammon adapted. I'm really surprised Swan Song was never adapted, which is his most famous title.
Yeah.
And
I keep thinking of Boy's Life, but how could you ever adapt that book?
He also wrote the series he wrote with the period detective Matthew.
Oh, right.
The Nightbird, Suspect the Nightbird.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah. Which I really love. And what's interesting about those books, at least I found, was how McCammon tends to be a bit chameleon-esque when it comes to his writing style. His books have very different flavors, and his prose with like those books, the Nightbird books, I can't remember the guy's last name, Matthew Wood Cussler, whatever his name is, but has a very, very different style than, say, Stinger. I mean, obviously those are earlier titles, but even his more recent horror novels, he writes them differently. Very interesting writer McCammon is. He's quite diverse.
Yeah, the Wolf's Hour would be an amazing, fun movie.
I heard a rumor they were making. I heard a rumor they were making that as a movie.
Boy, I'd love that.
And The Border was great. Did you guys read The Border? It came out. Subterranean released it a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
I missed that one.
It's an alien v alien movie where Earth is sort of stuck as their sort of battleground of choice. And it's really, I thought it was a great, really fun read. I highly recommend it. It's in paperback now, but I think from Subterranean as well.
Well, along the lines of this same question, do any of you have an idea of or a plot in your mind, and not something that you're writing or anything, but just, something that you've thought about that you say, oh, I would love this to be made into a movie, if this, anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to send me the paperwork and a check, I will discuss it on air.
No?
Yes.
It's kind of an abstract question, I know.
So a couple, almost 20 years ago, I had an opportunity to sit down with David Brin, and he just published a book called Kiln People. And the idea behind Kiln People was that you could essentially quick clone yourself.
Okay.
And you could then go off and, if you were a waiter and you were a really good waiter, you could make 10 clones of yourself and go out and work 10 jobs. And there were, we sat down, we were talking, we were bullshitting about the effects that this would have on society, like OSHA would go away, things like that. But then it was like, I asked the question, could you tweak yourself a little? He's like, well, what do you mean? He says, well, what if you were going to vote and you tweaked yourself so you were a little bit more moral than you are now? He said, yeah, you could do that. And then after you vote, you witness a mob hit. Well, not you, but your clone. And then so the clone wants to, go testify and, do the right stuff. And you just want to live your life and get away. So
this is almost an Outer Limits plot, by the way.
Okay. So you've got to, your clone is on the run from you because it wants to testify and you want to shut it down. And then the mob is after you. But you're living in a dystopian world where there are pretty much no safety features left whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it becomes a really good, very cinematographic chase film.
I don't remember the episode exactly, but they had a plot on the Outer Limits from the 60s. Was an actor named Ron Randall, where he had to track. He had illegally imported some alien to Earth that was highly predatory.
Okay.
And he had to track it down and kill it before it, got him arrested for importing, unlicensed monsters into Earth.
Okay.
And there had been a cloning procedure which was outlawed because the clones would kill their originals and assume their identities. And that was the whole plot of it. And and the clone was more moral than he was, and it gets more complicated. So I'll just.
I remember a short story like that too, where the authorities are trying to clone the clones are not. This has been like 25 years probably since I read it, but the clones aren't allowed to exist out in society. They're supposed to be for body parts, I think. And this clone does get out in society, so the authorities are trying to figure out which one of them's real. And it goes from there.
It's also going back to Marvel Comics. The LMD plot we saw on Agents of Shield was done in the comics, sort of like that.
Yeah.
The first one was in an Iron Man comic where Tony Stark had an LMD, which he used to use to fool people, and the LMD said, "No, I want to be the real Tony Stark."
Right.
That was like a 3-part story, if I remember correctly.
I remember a Bruce Willis movie about clones, and he had to wear this awful wig to differentiate the real Bruce Willis from the clone Bruce Willis. And it was this awful yellow toupee.
There was a Schwarzenegger movie like that too. The sixth day, I think.
Yeah, right. 6th Day.
Yeah. Any other ideas?
No, I will say this. I probably shouldn't say it, but I don't. But why not? I don't know, why not?
In which case, you probably should. Yeah.
But I will say this: that the paperwork is not signed, which is why I probably shouldn't say it. But I did just recently option Mandala, my novella Mandala, which is the last story in my collection, and I did just option that to a director who does a lot of television and has done a couple of bigger features, and he is very excited, and we're in the creative development process, and that's kind of exciting for me because it's probably the story that I wrote that's the most cinematic, so I'm very interested to see what happens with that.
So's your cat.
Yeah,
that's awesome though.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that progresses.
Okay. What else do I have here? I'm curious, Rick, if you've got around to reading Dead Romance yet.
Sorry, been
Not yet.
busy.
What's Dead Romance?
That's Berenice Summerfield novel. She's sort of a Doctor Who recurring character from novels, and supposedly it's Lovecraftian, according to Mike.
But it's not a Doctor Who book. Doctor Who exists in the universe, this world, whatever, but it's not a Doctor Who book, and it's very, very interesting.
It's a spin-off of it's sort of like a companion has her own adventure.
Well, when the story starts off with the world ended in such, I forget the date, 1972, something like that, then it caught my attention.
Mm-hmm.
The world ended in the 70s. I was the only survivor, and you're like, what? Say what now? So it's a very good book. I mean, I'm just interested to see what you, as a Doctor Who fan especially, think of it when you get around to reading it, Rick. And if you're not a Doctor Who fan, you're listening to this, there's some very interesting concepts in that book, and I think, Pete, that you would like it.
Yeah.
Especially.
Just that we get so backed up. As I was telling Phil, it took me a year to read his 2 novellas after I bought them at Necronomicon. I finally got around to reading them. I just have, between writing and a stack of books to read.
Yeah, I understand. So, all right. You guys wanted to discuss Avengers spoiler free for a minute, right?
No,
I don't know.
I've not seen it yet.
I don't think you can discuss Avengers and have it spoil. It's
Well, here's what I'm interested in exploring. Kelly's seen it twice now. And he
Yeah.
before the show started, he said, "Is it bad if I identify with what Thanos is saying?" So
We can go into Thanos' motivation. I don't think that spoils anything. That's pretty much open.
But
you
hey,
know, which is
whatever Mike wants to do.
Kelly is evil theory fits it nicely. I guess.
Well, he's just to say this. He's in the comic books. He was the man who worshipped death. They totally removed that. He would have been totally unsympathetic. They made him more like Ra's al Ghul in the first Batman movie, in that he sort of wants to purify the universe.
Yeah.
I was reminded a lot more of Ra's al Ghul than the Thanos from in the original Marvel Infinity story.
Well, I'll say this about Infinity War is I'm not a fan actually of the Marvel movies overall, but the last two Marvel movies I've really enjoyed. I enjoyed Black Panther, and I really enjoyed Infinity War, although I thought at times it got creaky and a little goofy. But from someone who doesn't really care that much for the Marvel movies, but sees them because my wife does, the last two I thought were really well done. And
I think
really entertaining without being too silly.
They've really developed Wakanda in the last two movies.
Well, yeah, that's the other. Yeah, they do a lot of Wakanda and Infinity War, but I think they just got away from a lot of the really goofiness. There's a lot of goofiness in some of the earlier ones. Although I liked Thor Ragnarok as well, so I don't know, man.
Well,
maybe I
Black
did like
Panther
Marvel
and Infinity Wars sure are making a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think Infinity War is going to end up being the number 2 movie of all time when it's all said and done.
Oh wow!
Behind Avatar, which I still can't believe made that much money.
Avatar
has made $2.7 billion worldwide. And Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all coming out in the next couple of years.
Yeah, but I've been
next
hearing
12
that for a decade now.
It's going to be a lot of, I don't know. It's going to be a lot of Avatar.
Which may make Zoe Saldana fixed for life.
I'm cool with Zoe Saldana. I'm cool with the actors. I like the other fellow too.
No. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm just saying my brother was making that comment. He was looking at all the franchises she's involved in.
Yeah, she's doing okay.
Yeah.
Her and Chris, I mean, she's in everything. Her and Chris Pratt are like all over the place.
Right.
Well,
what do you guys think of Solo? Who's excited about Solo?
Oh, of course I am. Come on.
I know Kelly is.
I wish
I'll watch it.
I wish it wasn't Solo. I wish it was Lando. I don't need to know more about Han Solo as a kid. I think that takes away some of his mystique. But Lando, we didn't really know much about anyway. I'd be totally fine seeing a.
Well, from my understanding is it is pretty much the Lando show, and but they call it but Solo's the name that brings you.
Did you see the Saturday Night Live routine was Donald Glover as Lando?
No,
I missed it.
No, they had a convention of all the black people in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, funny!
All 5 of them.
Well, and the rumor I'm hearing is that there is not enough Lando in this. So you're going to wish that it was more Lando, that they're playing him up in the trailer, but that he's not.
Maybe there's going to be a Lando spinoff. God, who knows?
Yeah, this may lead to it's maybe that the secondary character outshines the main one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll probably end up seeing it just because I feel like a sense of duty.
Duty, DOODY.
To see every Star Wars film that comes out.
Oh man, I tried to watch the last 2 and I couldn't.
That cat is pissed off at you, Philip. No sudden movement.
Did you see Rogue One?
I tried to watch Rogue One. It was stupid.
I liked Rogue One.
I love Rogue One.
Yeah.
All right. So
Last Jedi
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
If you don't get
if
you get to the end, you get one of the best 3-minute scenes in history.
That's true.
And I'm sure you guys, I know Kelly knows this, but interestingly, that scene was not in the original film. It was, during the editing process, after the movie was made and they were editing the movie, the editor said, hey, what would be cool
Yeah.
if we did another scene with Darth Vader at the end of the film, and they were like, "Oh, it is a cool idea," and so they went back to Kathleen Kennedy and pitched it, and she gave them $30 million in 3 days, and they shot it, and they tacked it onto the end of the film, and it made the film what it was. And I think it's a big reason that film made as much money as it did, because that was the word of mouth was, "Oh my God, you've got to see the last 3 minutes of the film," and that's what ended up, I think, getting a lot of people to see that movie in the theater.
Well, great. It's on Netflix. I'll just go to the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, just watch the last 3 minutes.
And that made up for all we had to suffer through the prequels. I'll say.
I
that.
thought the third act of Rogue One. I liked Rogue One. I think I would go as far as to say I think Rogue One might be one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
I don't have a problem. I'm just saying that I thought Vader got shortchanged in the prequels, and this movie did him justice, even though
The prequels.
he's not a main. He's an important character, but he's his role is not as great as some of the other characters.
Yeah, I think Star Wars are really hit or miss. I mean, I thought the
Last
Last Jedi was a real stinker. I thought that movie was really terrible.
Couldn't finish it.
I liked it. I love what they did in the throne room. That's going to be one of the best scenes in the movie.
The fight scene.
Yeah, the throne room scene.
Really?
That's how it developed. What I didn't expect happened, and then it just became one huge free for all.
Yeah. I couldn't deal with the whole, like, they were psychically talking to each other from across the universe. It just,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what that reminded me of was like, sorry, wrong number.
it reminded me of what's that Tom Hanks and
Email. You got me.
it reminded me of Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah, Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah, it's basically Sleepless in Seattle in space. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so what are you guys reading right now that you're enjoying?
Don't everybody jump at once.
No, I was gonna say,
Yeah, I'll say this. I'll start off. I just finished Our Lady of Darkness by Fritz Leiber. Second time I've read it. I hadn't read it in like 10 years or something. And actually, on the second read, I was not as impressed
interesting.
as the. Yeah.
That was his first book, right?
No, this is this is from the 70s.
Oh, so it's, I don't know when he died or whatever.
No, he started to write in the 30s.
Oh,
He's
really?
corresponding with Lovecraft.
Gotcha. What's he? Is that what he's best known for? Is that the title he's best known for? I never read anything.
He did the Fafford and the Grey Mouser series,
which is a good, excellent fantasy series.
Okay, I've never read anything by him, so.
But it's got Our Lady of Darkness does have this interesting hook where this guy, he sees this. There's this hill in San Francisco, and he goes and climbs it. I won't get into why, but when he does, he realizes when he's there, he's got binoculars with him. He realizes that he could probably find his own apartment window. So he tries to do that, and he sees somebody or something leaning out the window, waving at him.
Creepy.
From 2 miles away. So it's got a really creepy theme.
That is creepy.
Sorry.
It gets into all the California horror writer circles of the 30s, though. I mean, he's got Clark Ashton Smith is heavily involved in the plot. Even though it's years after he died, the references to Dashiell Hammett, the references to Lovecraft.
There's references to a short story by Fritz Leiber too.
Is it really? It's a meta. It goes meta.
Just briefly, yeah.
Who's the guy that wrote? He's an author, and I'm sorry to sidetrack. He's an author, and he wrote the H.P. Lovecraft biography, the one that was
The Camp.
Long, is that right? Belknap Long.
Yeah, Frank Belknap Long wrote H.P.L. Dreamer on the Lightest on the other side.
Yeah, now he's a writer too, right? Because I thought somebody was mentioning him on Facebook the other day, and I got interested to maybe check him out. Is he worth checking out?
His early stuff is good. Space Eaters.
Space Eaters is the one that he's.
Is a short story that I would recommend.
All right. I will check it out.
Even though the current online, you can read it online, it's just missing. You won't notice it, but it's missing a paragraph.
Oh, the
So
online
it's,
version.
so it's good if you get it in an Arkham House or a collection or something.
All right.
All right, Philip, what are you reading?
I am wrapping up. Wrapping up Stephen King's Sleeping Beauties, Stephen and Owen King's Sleeping Beauties. I didn't mind the first half of the book. Once it gets to the second half of the book, it is, boy, those pages get heavy. It is it just kind of slams on the brakes, and it goes a direction that is not interesting, and it's been tough because it's a huge book. It's like
I couldn't finish it, and I remember you saying when you were reading it that it was like your favorite you had read so far. And I was
really
like, "Is this the same book?"
I love the premise. I love the idea. I thought they would go a different direction with it. I liked the first few hundred pages. I was really into it. Yeah, I got really into it, and I was really having fun with it. And then, man, it just falls off. It just goes right off a cliff.
Yeah.
What is a short synopsis of the plot?
There's a mysterious visitor to our reality. We don't know who, why, or where she comes from. But when she arrives, women who fall asleep get they grow this cocoon situation, and they go to sleep. They don't die, but they go into a hibernation state. And one of the more interesting things about the book that is not explored nearly enough is when you disrupt their sleep, they attack you viciously and they murder you. And then all the women in the world basically start falling asleep. And of course, all the men start acting like assholes and, do all this dumb stuff, which is fine. And then you find out later, and it's not giving anything away, that you're kind of taken to where the women have gone. And that's kind of
I'm sorry, that's not, even the synopsis doesn't sound interesting to me.
Well, I also talk in a dull monotone, so it's probably not.
I've been accused of that myself. Yeah.
Do you guys know what a light year is? Let me
Yes.
Fewer calories.
Let me unpack
Same
that.
as a regular year, but with fewer calories.
I'm also reading Richard Lehman these days. This is a Richard Lehman book that I purchased.
Yes, Lehman. Nobody like him.
And man, I've never read Richard Lehman.
Really?
No.
There's a little bit of sex in some of his stories.
I'm not like an Edward Lee, Richard Lehman. Jack Ketchum would probably be the closest I get to that circle, but man, I am really, really enjoying it. It reminds me of when I first picked up Bentley Little a couple of years ago, and I became raptured, and I started buying every Bentley Little book there was and just devouring them. And I've got 14 Bentley Little books now on my shelf. I see myself this happening with Richard Lehman because he's and I'm digging myself a little bit of a hole here, but what's really fascinating about reading at least this particular book is just how not PC a writer he is. It is a brutally early 90s book that does not hold back on the gratuitous sex and rape and ultra violence and stereotypes and racial undertones. I mean, it's horrible, but it's like eating a mountain of chocolate because it's just so, nowadays everyone's in horror, everyone's stepping on eggshells, not wanting to upset anybody. And it's just kind of refreshing to see something that's so brutally contemptuous of any sort of political correctness that I've really kind of been enjoying it, although I'm 100% against all of that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And I've also been, last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, is Brian Evanson's new book, which is Raymond Carver's What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, which is really Brian talking about his what Raymond Carver meant to him as a writer. And it took a thesis about that book of short stories by Carver and how it really influenced Brian Evanson. But really, it's a literary autobiography of Brian Evanson. So if you are a Brian Evanson fan and want to know what makes him tick, which I do because I'm fascinated by him and blown away by his work, this is a great book to pick up. Really fascinating stuff.
Well, getting back to Lehman for a second.
Yeah.
If you like his stuff, my favorite book by Lehman is Night in the Lonesome October.
Oh, okay.
Not to be confused with Roger Zelazny's A Night in the Lonesome October.
Two very different books.
Yes, very, very different books. But you know what? I like both of them. Obviously, Zelazny's is a classic, and Layman's is not, never will be. But I like the premise of it. It's basically this college town. Late at night, really weird things happen, and I think that's a great premise.
Yeah, the book I just finished is One Rainy Night, which is about similarly a rain that makes all the people in the town go crazy, and it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Pete, what's your favorite? You said you read a lot of Layman. What's your favorite Layman book?
The Cellar.
Okay, that's part of a series, right?
Yeah, the Beast House series.
Okay.
Which is kind of his take on Hell House. But yes,
I'll check it because I'm looking at I'm thinking about what to check out next. So those are good.
9 the Lonesome October. What Pete said. Pete, Traveling Vampire Show. That'd be number 2.
That's fun. That is fun. What
about Funland? Is Funland?
I didn't like Funland.
I didn't care for it. I just thought it was very popular. Right. Plus, the carnival thing is going to done to death.
All right. So, Pete, what are you reading right now?
I just finished. Here, let me just grab it.
Yeah, don't fall out of bed there.
No, I won't. I just finished Arkham Detective Agency, which is a tribute to C.J. Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of stories by some of people we know: Glenn Owen Barras, Scott Godsword, Sam Gafford, Tom Lynch, Don Webb, Brian Sammons. Pretty good. Came out from Dark Regions last year. And I'm doing my homework starting tomorrow. I am reading The Ritual by Adam Neville.
Right, because he's going to be on the show soon.
Yes.
Good. Awesome.
Okay. So I hope to have that done by whenever he's on.
House of Small Shadows, you should definitely read if you have the time. If you have time, it's another Neville book.
Okay.
My favorite. I've read all of his books. I've heard, but that House of Small Shadows goes incredibly creepy places. It's a really, really good book.
All right, Kelly, what are you reading right now? And I don't think I asked Rick yet either.
Currently reading Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff. Had the chance to sit with him on a panel at Crypticon this last weekend, and he was an interesting cat, and I wanted to kind of get to know him since I was going to be asking him some questions, and I'm enjoying the book. Currently listening to the audiobook of The Boy on the Bridge, which is Mike Carey's prequel to The Girl with All the Gifts. I'm really enjoying that. And then I want to... What's that?
I loved that movie.
Oh, I know. If we could get Mike to watch this, I think that he'd change his mind.
All right.
I want to take a couple of seconds to talk about, so at this convention I was at last weekend, a ton of authors, ton of artists, filmmakers, everything like that. And also there was Mike Dubish, who is a pretty popular Lovecraftian author or artist, and Cody Goodfellow and John Skip. And they had a little magazine that had come out called Forbidden Futures. It's a really cool idea. Cool. If you're familiar with Dube's work, it's very Lovecraftian stuff, and he's just constantly painting these images, and they go up and then they just kind of go away, and they're never really used for anything. He's just a really prolific artist, and he doesn't even mention this in the book. And I was like, why aren't you talking about this? What he did then was he would take some of these images, as you can see here, and he would assign it to an author, and the author would write a piece of fiction around the image.
Yeah, that's been done before.
Yeah,
it has, but I thought it was a neat idea, and this is an ongoing magazine.
That's been done since they used to do that in pulp magazines in the 1930s. Get the cover before they had the story.
That was actually how we got the Sea of Ash and the Sea of Flesh from the Thomas brothers
Right.
originally.
Hey Kelly, I
Yeah.
think it's cool.
No,
Well,
I think it's really cool.
I think it's cool too.
Yeah, it's
Um,
been around forever. I don't know if anybody is doing it anymore, and I like that this is a quarterly mag that is going to be doing it based around Doob's work exclusively, which I thought was really interesting. And then I picked up
Forbidden Futures. Wait,
Forbidden
should
Futures.
people just Google that?
I would say just
so they can
Google
buy it?
that. Let me see really quickly here. I don't see a website listed on here. I'm sure that there is a website. Yes, forbiddenfutures.com.
Oh wow, good.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime
Right.
there's a new magazine, a new print magazine out, I think it's a reason for everyone to cheer because they just seem to be falling.
Absolutely. I also picked up this bad boy,
Nice.
the Thing art book.
The Thing.
It is just, I mean, talk about, let's see, this is 350 pages of just spectacular artwork
That's
based on the film The Thing, with a foreword by Eli Roth and an afterword by John Carpenter. It's $40, and I was not going to buy it, but I was rooming with my business partner Eric Morgret, and he picked one up, and I got to see what it looked like inside, and I was like, "Oh God damn it! Now I guess I got to have one of these." It's pretty gorgeous. Printedinblood.com is the company, and the book is called The Thing Art Book.
Well, as a segue, I've been going through the illustrated Lovecraft books by Pete Von Shelley, all 12 of them. I think it's actually, I think it's more than 12, but there are at least 12.
From PS Publishing, right?
PS Publishing. And one art drawing that I forgot was that he has a Thing model kit in At the Mountains of Madness, as well as an Elder Thing, or whatever we call those star-shaped old ones. And in Shadow Out of Time, he has a model kit for a Yithian, done in the style of Aurora models from the 60s that Joel Pulver and I used to make. He also did a Classics Illustrated version of Shadow Out of Time, if those of us from the 60s who used to buy Classic Illustrated comics. That's how we learned the first time about Three Musketeers, Jungle Book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, classic stories. So it's great for a guy who lived in the 60s.
Okay. Reading anything else?
Also, finally finishing, because I got caught up a lot of other things, the Peasley Papers by the exceptional Pete Rollick.
Who is that? Never heard of that.
Yeah, what is that piece?
Nice.
Yeah, it's got a little too many crossovers than you can imagine.
I'd expect no less from Pete.
That's just why I stopped reading it for it, because it's like I have to keep going on the internet trying to figure out what is this thing? You know, after I read the story, I have like this list of 10 questions, which I have to look up on. I can usually answer myself by looking them up on the internet.
So what you do is you write down your questions and you submit them to me with a self-addressed stamped envelope and a check for $45. And
Per
sometime
question.
in 2020, you will get an answer.
Right.
Before you wrap up, I got a couple of more topics. Anybody else have a topic they want to throw out there?
Yeah, I got a article being published in a magazine called Pope Potpourri, or it's Potpourri. It's published by Morania Press, Murania. Okay. You can get it on their website. It's a discussion of the religions of Atlantis in Robert E. Howard. And it gets into some hints at such as who is King Cole's real father? I have an interesting theory about that. And who was the god who's supposed to really be represented on Solomon Kane's staff. It has the head of a cat, which is the cat goddess Bubastis, but that was carved over something. Some god that lived underwater, not Cthulhu. I originally thought it was supposed to be Cthulhu, but I came up with a more interesting choice when I looked at the evidence. Somebody who is actually mentioned in Lovecraft.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm about to watch a movie with the family for scary movie night called Winchester. Have you guys seen this? It's supposed to be really good. It's available for rent on Amazon.
That's not what I've heard.
I saw it.
Really? You saw it? It's bad.
It's a snoozer. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, great.
Girl with all the gifts is
well,
free
along
on
those
Amazon
lines-
Prime.
Yeah, thank you.
But you
just
know,
answered my question.
I was just at the Winchester house recently, and we walked through at the Outer Dark Greater Symposium. That's where it was held, and we did the tour. And at the end of the tour, they have all these mannequins wearing all the outfits from the movie, and you get to watch the trailer for the movie, and you get a free movie poster. And it's this whole thing. So I was kind of interested to watch the movie, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if it's any good." And I looked it up, and boy, it got ravaged from critics. But maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe it'll be your train to Busan.
Great. Well, along those lines, I was going to ask you guys for more suggestions for Scary Movie Night. I know you're going to say "Girl with All the Gifts." Okay, I'm gonna watch it. Anything else?
I'm going to send you some emails with episodes of Thriller and Alfred Hitchcock Presents, based on the works of Robert Bloch.
All right, that sounds good.
It does sound good. I recently watched.
Yeah.
I recently watched Thelma, which I don't. Have you seen that one, Kelly? Thelma?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
It's Norwegian, and it's about a girl who goes off to college, and she has strange seizures, and bizarre things start happening to people around her. And you're not really sure exactly what's going on with her, and then they kind of slowly reveal all the stuff with her family and everything. And it's a real slow burn. It's really delicately shot. It's beautiful to watch. It's really haunting choreography, and it's subtitled, of course. But I would recommend. I don't know if I would recommend it for family horror night, but
yeah, but it's something to watch.
It's a really interesting film, and it's really well made. And that's kind of, like you mentioned it before, that's, if you make a movie that's actually really well made and well acted and looks great, and boy, I'll let a lot of other things slide, because it's just a quality film. But yeah, it's pretty creepy.
We are
okay. Check it out. Is it a spoiler to ask? Go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
I was just saying, we are on a family movie night. We watch stuff like Messiah of Evil.
Oh my God, I just saw that for the first time.
We watched it on Lovecraft eZine movie night a couple of months ago, Rick.
Yes, and it's an ordeal, I'll say that.
How did you guys, where were you able to watch it?
YouTube.
Okay, that's where I had to watch it from too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody had told me that it would pair well as a double feature with John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13, which is why I watched it.
That is my favorite zombie movie ever.
It's a good one.
Even though it's not a zombie movie.
Right.
Even though it's not a zombie movie. But it has all the hallmarks of a zombie movie.
Right.
It's just it's a siege film, which always feels like a Night of the Living Dead kind of idea.
Yeah. They remade
if you haven't.
It's just like The Hateful Eight is really the thing as a non supernatural horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they remade it, and it was not as good the second time around.
No.
I I'm gonna get shit for this, but it's not family movie night. It's maybe for you and the wife. But I really enjoyed Happy Death Day.
I did too.
I thought it had some. I thought it had some really clever plot moments and some decent acting. So
I think
thought
you
it
would
was
watch
fun.
it.
Why isn't it for
there are
15-year-old
some.
too? Is there nudity or something?
It's set in a college situation, and there are some sexual issues. You know,
Okay.
there's some.
I didn't think it was that. I didn't think it was.
It's not too bad.
Well, Logan's like 16, right? 15.
15,
15.
almost 16. Yeah.
He might be able to handle it. So,
Pushes limits, man.
yeah.
Great. I'll write that down. Parenting advice for the
Yeah.
day.
I've had some great driving advice for you all too, if you want to get into that.
What?
But yeah, I would definitely. I think I didn't notice, but besides cussing and maybe some, suggestive sexual stuff and suggested drug use and that kind of thing. To Pete's point, it's a college movie, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's very screamy.
Yeah. Yeah. It would pair well with Scream
Okay.
and Dale Tucker versus Evil. Have you
Yeah.
seen that, Mike?
No, I haven't.
That was a
I'm
fun
not much
one.
into comedy horror, although I did enjoy Ash versus the Evil Dead.
If you like Ash versus Evil Dead, Dale and Tucker versus Evil is pretty much in the same vein.
I agree. I think it's really funny. I mean, really, I enjoyed that movie. And I didn't watch that movie originally,
Okay,
Mike, for the same reason you didn't, because I didn't like the idea of watching a horror comedy, but it actually was a really fun film.
Even though Ash versus Evil Dead is a comedy, it's not a movie to eat food and watch. I'll tell you that.
No.
No,
No.
it is not.
No. My wife walked in. I was watching that. My wife walked in on the autopsy scene, the scene in the morgue, and she's like, "What the hell are you watching?"
Right.
Have you seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
really great movie.
I love that movie. That was my favorite movie that year. I think it was 2016.
I loved it too.
I was just going to say, there are certain movies you don't want to watch with your wife being around. Ash versus, because I wonder are you depraved?
Yeah.
And Ash versus Evil Dead sometimes it is into that. I mean, I always tell the story of the scene that they added the rape scene added to Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed with Peter Cushing. My wife came in and I said, and I've seen this movie 100 times and I know everything. So she's not going to see anything she's going to get upset by. And boom, this out of nowhere comes this rape scene that has nothing to do with the plot.
And makes him a very unlikable character.
Well, Baron Frankenstein was totally unlikable in that movie, but all of his actions had some rational basis except for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a rational villain as opposed to a slime ball who's, satisfying his own desires. It was out of character for the villain.
Yes.
Right there.
My absolute favorite type of horror movie is a good ghost story or haunted house story, or the Changeling's a good example, I guess. There's a million examples.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's any out there along that theme that I haven't yet seen, old or new.
Well, I just watched.
You guys have any favorite ghost story movies?
I just watched A Ghost Story. The movie with what's his face.
That was one of Mike's
How
favorite
could you
movies.
even get through that? There's like whole minutes of
Casey Affleck. That's
panning in on the garbage or something.
I almost
Did you
turned
like
it
it?
off. I almost turned it off during the pie scene. The pie scene was really pushing my limits, my patience.
I probably
she
didn't
literally
get that far.
eats a pie for about 20 minutes, and you're just going, "What is happening in my world?" I wasn't going to recommend it. I was going to say I recently saw it, and I was going to say do not see it. Although a lot of people really like
It could be
it.
the worst movie of all time.
Have you seen Burnt Offerings?
That's a great movie. It's a great,
A long time ago. Yeah.
great movie, great
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. Robert Marasco? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan
Long time
Curtis.
ago.
Dan
Probably
Curtis.
due for a rewatch.
And the book is the movie is incredibly loyal to the book. It's pretty much frame for. I mean,
Remind
for
me
frame.
the plot of that one. Is that with the daughters who are
No,
telekinetic?
that was the family who rents a house
From Burgess Meredith.
from Burgess
A
Meredith.
mansion that they're getting for a steal, and they don't know why because that thing. And the house
There's always a reason.
feeds off their pain and misery, basically, and things go really bad.
Okay. Anything else you guys can throw at me?
I enjoyed Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh, did you? Okay, that's on my list.
Did
I
you
haven't
not see
seen
it?
it.
I have not seen it.
It's a
I've not seen it.
Yeah, the way I describe that movie is if Stanley Kubrick were alive today and made another horror movie, that's the movie he would have made. It's like watching a Stanley Kubrick film. It is very deliberate. It is very paced. It is not a jump scare movie. It is very much, but it is incredibly intense, and you won't forget it. Like it's an experience. It's wonderfully acted. Yeah, it's a really twisted film, but it's very Kubrickian. It's very much along the lines of his more understated work.
What did you guys think of Crimson Peak?
All right, that does sound appealing.
How about Del Toro's?
Sounds a little
Crimson?
boring.
I kind of liked it.
I didn't love it, but it's also, I mean, it comes out and says it's a gothic romance
Right.
ghost story, and it very much was that, which is not my thing.
I didn't care for the ending, but other than that, I didn't mind it other than the ending. I thought the ending was a little tonally off for the rest of the film.
Well, speaking of Del Toro, we watched Mama a couple of weeks ago, and I fell asleep.
Oh man! Wait, you mean the kid, the Mama, the one the It guy made?
Yes, it's a stinker.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I loved that movie.
That makes sense.
I liked it too. I thought that was a great.
Yeah. Okay.
Me and the critics agree.
Yeah, I fell asleep,
Well, any movie that
and the family was not impressed either.
Well, movies that have slow build-ups. I haven't seen it, but any movie with a slow build-up could put. I mean, I liked Marrowbone, but if I had been tired that night, I probably would have fallen asleep after the first half hour because it takes a while to get to where it's going.
Well, don't watch Thelma because you will probably fall asleep. It is a slow film.
Is it a spoiler to ask when Louise shows up, or to get the answer to that?
I don't know what that's a reference to. I'm assuming it's sardonic.
Thelma and Louise.
Oh,
fucking Philip!
Jesus, you're a screenwriter?
Wow.
Is it a horror movie?
That's just awful.
It is a horror movie.
You know,
that Brad Pitt movie?
I thought that I was. It's.
Well,
I thought that much of PC culture escaped me, but that's just horrible right there.
Well, I know that Susan Sarandon
Thelma and
is
Louise.
one hell of a ping pong player. Not many people know that.
Played ping pong with Susan Sarandon.
I have not personally, but I know that her and her husband own a string of ping pong establishments, and they're very competitive at it. So, for what that's worth.
Okay, that's good to know.
I just wanted to point out that Kelly says.
Let me write that down.
Kelly says there.
Sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
Kelly says there are a lot of horror movies that are redeemed by the third act, become only worthwhile in the third act.
That sounds like something I'd say.
That much like Rogue One going full circle.
Yeah.
Devil's Candy was good. We talked about that already, though, a couple weeks ago.
I like that one.
That was a good one.
All right, we got anything else?
Because of the panels I was on last weekend, I had to rewatch a couple of movies. And I was really, really pleasantly surprised with how well Christine held up, Carpenter's adaptation of Stephen King's book. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved that movie when it came out.
I like
that actor went on to make Old School with Rodney Dangerfield.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey,
And Dax.
This is totally off topic, you guys, but maybe the best thing I've seen so far this year was that Cobra Kai series that just finished on YouTube. It had no right being as good as it was.
That seems to divide a lot of people. People either love it or hate it.
Put me in the love it camp. I was just blown away by how good the writing was. The acting, a little shaky. Neither of these guys have been practicing that muscle very long or lately.
Right.
But I thought the writing was top notch, and I loved what they did with these characters.
If we're talking about Stephen King,
I have no idea what Cobra Kai is.
It's a sequel to the Karate Kid movies from 30 years ago.
I was just to get back.
All right.
With Stephen King, I really liked the adaptation of his short story, The Night Flyer, the one with Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah, that was good.
They made a movie out of that?
Yes.
Very well done.
Huh.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that, but I do remember liking it.
And they did the bathroom scene perfectly.
You
can't see the vampire, but you can see something else. That was done phenomenally.
Oh, I remember. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Nobody plays a character you love to hate better than Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He was pretty good he was a nice guy on Crossing Jordan.
The
first 6 seasons.
Did that really last 6 seasons?
Yeah.
Oh.
It lasted 6 seasons.
I mean, I remember watching it, but I don't remember it being that long.
He became likable in
sort of a comfort food type show.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you say, Rick?
He was likable in Twin Peaks too.
But he was an asshole.
Yeah,
he started off as an asshole, but then he became
likable.
He became. It was one of those
watchable.
It was one of those asshole characters who became likable. By the time the character's arc ended.
I liked his character a lot. I thought it was really funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, next week we got Steve Rasnick Tim. After that, the next week after that, we've got Adam Neville, and then the Sunday after that, we got Paul Tremblay.
Holy cow.
Got some great guests coming out.
Some big swings.
So, you'll be in charge of interviewing them all. So that's cool, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know about Lovecraft eZine movie night, it's every Saturday night at 10 Eastern. So just we use Rabbit, www. or just Google Rabbit. RABB.IT is how you get to it. Sign up and add me as a friend on there, Mike Davis 222 all together, and I'll send you an invite every Saturday night when we do the movie. So anyway, guys, anything else before we sign off?
Just remind everybody there's a Lovecraft eZine Patreon, which is
thank you.
Pretty dang cool. Well worth your money.
Yeah, thanks.
Watching the skies.
Yeah, there's a Lovecraft eZine Patreon. So
lots of extra.
All right, don't forget also that. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying, lots of extra content that you don't get just right here. Although this episode feels a little bit like some of that extra content.
Yeah. This episode's kind of like the Patreon podcast.
We should do a Patreon episode on Avengers Infinity War when Mike watches it.
Yeah, there's so much.
We'll do that.
Yeah, put me down for that one.
On the
Okay, well,
patron,
we
on
can
the
all do it.
patron, on the patron podcast that I've been on, I'm way less professional.
which is fucking hard to believe. But
I'll tell you what. On the
Weren't you
next
drunk the
Patreon
entire time?
podcast, I won't wear any pants.
Ugh.
The thing is, if we did an Infinity War
I feel
show,
gross now.
You should.
if we did an Infinity War show, the best person to have on would be Joe, but unfortunately, I don't think he's able to watch movies.
Yeah, you can't watch it for another couple months.
Yeah, that's really
Well, I don't even think he can. It's
So
not
the-
even there in Berlin yet. Is it?
I'm
according
pretty
to
sure
Joe.
it's. I'm pretty. Oh, it hasn't opened in Germany yet.
No, it's open
Or
everywhere.
maybe it is. Maybe he's just saying. Okay.
It just opened in China this past
All right.
weekend.
It's not. It's not on video, which is where he normally watches his movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. But I'll go see Infinity Wars in the theater this week, and we'll do a Patreon podcast on it. So, all right, guys. Thanks. Don't forget Pete Rollick, Rick Lay. Sorry.
Just
Pete
what?
Rollick, Rick Lay, Philip Fracasti. Look them up on Amazon. They got some great books. Don't forget about Kelly Young's magazine, Strange Eons. That's Eons with an AEONS. So, great magazine.
thank you.
Thanks for being on the show, guys. Thanks
See ya.
everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.